Hey, what's up? What's up? Welcome to the Hope Shot live event tonight. We got our Addiction to Success series. Hope you guys like my wallpaper. I changed it for you guys. Look at that. Nice, right? Yeah, I was tired of seeing damn sliding glass doors behind me. I wanted to change the wallpaper and it looked good. Hey, you got a calendar. You're like professional back there, okay? I like that.
It says December.
Whatever. Sometimes we live in the past, you know? Hey, if you guys are jumping on, say hi. Let us know you're here. Tonight, we are going to hear Christina's story. She's going to tell us her journey. Today is her celebration. Today is her 3 years. Super awesome, man. And I'm so grateful that we get to have somebody come on here to celebrate their clean date. You know what I mean? It's super cool, you know, and it just fell right on time, you know? It's always right on time sometimes. Anyway, so let me get to the clarity statement real quick before we jump into the story. Like I said, if you guys are jumping on, make sure you say hi. Let us know you're here. Also, please hit that share button. Every time you guys share, it helps us out, supports us, and you never know who this story might touch tonight, and they might find a little bit of hope, and they might want to find their recovery journey as well, or keep moving forward. So the Hope Shot clarity statement. We here at the Hope Shot are a group of people in recovery spreading inspiration. We come from all different walks of life and pathways of recovery. Our verbiage may be different at times, but we all have one thing in common: recovery as a lifestyle. We support all pathways of recovery. It doesn't matter how you get from A to Z, just get there. Thank you for being a part of our family. So I'm going to give a couple shout outs. We got Mary Coffee. That has to be. Who is she? Is she related to you?
I have no idea. That's my mom. Yeah, that's my mom.
What's up, Mom? Give her a shout out. We got Sasha. What's up, Sasha? Tanya. What's up, Sasha? What's up, Tanya? Misty. Tanya. We got Mary. Oh, we got, is that the same? Yeah, okay. We got Sky, Kelly. What's up, Kelly? And we got Stephanie. What's up, Stephanie? I guess all your peoples, huh? And Denise, what's up, Denise?
Our people.
I know it's our people. It's your people tonight, okay? I'm gonna take a sidestep to this one. Anyway, so I'm gonna introduce Christina real quick. I met Christina. I think I was just fresh in the recovery. I think I had almost a year when she shared at my friend's celebration, and I remember her because it was a hard time for her when she came in, and she was a mess. Literally a mess at our friend's celebration. And it was cool that she was there. She was going through stuff, and she stayed around for 3 years. You know, I've seen her do so much with service, with helping people, just growing as a person, professionally, individually, and all around. She's just a great person in recovery, willing to help anybody that comes through those doors that wants to change their lives to live better. She has an amazing story of success, and I'm going to give it over to her. So, Christina, it's all yours.
Thank you, Justin. Yeah, I'm just so honored that you asked me to do this. It's, you know, as you said, it is my celebration, and I'm so grateful that my journey and your journey are collaborating right now. This is going to be awesome. I'm super excited. Before I even get started, I have to say this because my praises and everything that's happened in my life, all my praises go to my higher power, who I choose to call God. He is responsible for all this. And I have to say that first before I get started. Amen. So anyways, as I said, my clean date is January 12th, 2019. And how long am I speaking for? Like, do I need to watch the clock?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Listen, you talk as long as you want. Okay. It's your story. We do not jip you on your time. Okay. You earned that shit.
All right. So, you know, I was going back and forth about what I should talk about, you know, because I've told my story before, but I've decided that I am going to tell my story again, like from start to finish, because it's important for me to hear it. You know, like this year, I mean, I've had a great year, a lot of blessings. I'm heavily involved in service. And, you start thinking like, man, I should be further. Like I should be doing more. Like, what is it all for? Am I doing this for nothing? Like maybe I need to focus on other things, and step back. But, I was asked to tell my story at another meeting, and I briefly told it. And I was like, man, I really needed to hear that, because literally, I was reading a meme tonight that like my foundation started from rock bottom. So, I grew up in a pretty toxic household, only because my mom, not to call her out or anything, she was, a single mom, and then she got in a toxic relationship, and like I remember for a long time I carried a lot of resentment towards her, but then after going through that, it was a big eye opener, because toxic relationships can destroy you. And that's basically what it was doing. So it was very, very hard growing up in the house. I actually ended up leaving the house when I was 15 or 16, and I went to a girls' home. So that kind of like was a domino effect of like things just kind of falling through for me. I was very active in school activities, I was in all the clubs, and I just loved going to school. Until I kind of started hanging out with the wrong crowd. But then when I went to the girls' home, school kind of became a luxury, to be able to be in all those clubs and activities. So I was able to still attend the same school because I was in a magnet program, but I wasn't able to do any of the activities. So when that was taken away from me, school was not is interesting to me, and with living in the girls' home, I had other activities, and, I was around these girls that were like, drinking bleach and like trying to kill themselves. And here I am like thinking I am not like them. I'm in here because I lost my virginity. Like this was my thinking. I mean, there was more to it than that. I was kind of rebelling and just, making it really hard in the household. But, I'm sitting here thinking that I'm different from these people. And then I ended up leaving that girls' home and moving into like an efficiency with two other girls down in downtown St. Pete, like where people, there was like gunshots and, like it was just a bad neighborhood, but I still wasn't using drugs. I was always real against, I went through the DARE program twice, and because I switched schools in the middle of it, and in both schools, I was the one that got picked to read my essay in front of everybody. So I went through it 2 times and was even picked to read this is why you don't do drugs. There was some drug activity in my household, very minimum. So I was always so against it, like drinking, and I was just never going to do it, and then I think right when I was about 17, I kind of, just being around people that were using all the time, I finally just kind of was like, yeah, I want to use it. And then I was off to the races. These were a little bit more heavier drugs, but I was doing a lot of them. And I did that for a couple of years with a huge resentment towards my mother and my family, because, I had that victim mentality. Like all my struggles from that point was because I felt like I was cheated out of my childhood. Like I didn't get the chance to go to college or finish school. And I didn't get the chance to where your parents buy you a car and all that stuff. So like for a long time in my thinking, I was like, man, the reason that, I'm like this is because I had a rough start and it wasn't fair, it just, I just, at that point, I was very, very young, blaming other people for, the consequences of my actions. But so that went on for a while. I remember I didn't speak to my mom for a long time. It was real rough. And I remember like just using a lot, and to the point where it was maybe like 3 or 4 years later when I was like skin and bones, and I just was completely exhausted from just every day using drugs and the partying and stuff. And I remember calling my mom and like literally going back home in the fetal position. And I was good for a couple of months, but I would like stop doing the drugs that I felt like that I didn't have control over. And I would just kind of like stick to just drinking, or stick to like drugs that I could put down and that I didn't need every single day, and that for me, made all the difference. So, this is like 19, 20, right? And I remember like kind of slowly started getting into taking pills and stuff like that when I was about 19, 20 years old. And I ended up moving from Clearwater up to Spring Hill because all my family had moved up there. And I got pregnant with my daughter at 21. And I remember like I was able to put everything down with her. I was working 2 jobs, got my first place and worked up until I just about had her. And then after I had her, just trying to like, work and take care of a baby and, I got turned on to my drug of choice and, you know, was able to like hold it together for a little bit. But after about 19 months, like it was total self-destruction, and I had to snap out of it. And I was able to snap out of it. But still, just put that drug down and was kind of still, I was bartending and stuff. So I was drinking and doing other stuff, but I was functioning better than I was with the drug that just like was destroying me. So, I had my first daughter at 22 and, after I had her, things kind of spiraled. I ended up having to give her to a friend of mine to take care of because I was living in Tampa and, living a, crazy life. And I would come and see her on the weekends. So, I mean, I was working at a job, that I was making a lot of money. But it was like the lifestyle was just party, party, party. Like I stayed at a different place every single night. It was exhausting. So after I ended up, kind of hitting another rock bottom at I think like 23 or 24 when I got involved with a married man. And he actually ended up, this is how sick I was. Like I literally like got involved with this man on Christmas Eve. He should have been home with his family, but I was just so desperate for like, somebody to take care of me because my life was literally spiraling out of control. And like, I had no control over my addiction. So, here I am, this man leaves his wife for me and we get a place together and things, things are somewhat normal in my mind, because I'm not, I have stable living. Like I'm in this relationship. I'm thinking everything's going to be good because I was completely delusional, there in my 20s. And I ended up, wanting to have another baby, and I ended up, we tried and I got pregnant with my Bobby Ann. Now during this, like, I was still taking the pills, but then when I found out that I was pregnant, I tried to stop taking the pills. I was determined I was gonna get off of them. I went about 3 weeks and I ended up in the emergency room because my liver was failing. So and that's when they came in and they're like, "You're pregnant," and I said, "Yeah, I know. That's why I'm trying to get off these pills." And they're like, "You can't get off these pills when you're pregnant," And I remember they basically told me, "You have to go to the methadone clinic." Like that was my first introduction. I really didn't know what a methadone clinic was before that. So, and it was kind of like you're going to report to the methadone clinic or we're going to report you to social services kind of thing. So I ended up going to the methadone clinic and for the next 4.5 years, I was on a 390 milligram dose of methadone, by the time I had Bobby Ann, and then I tapered down and then I got pregnant again. And by the time I had my Victoria, I was 390 milligrams of methadone a day. So I had about an 11-year opiate addiction. 4.5 years of that was on methadone. So, both of my girls were methadone babies, which was, that was very humiliating for me because, so my Bobby Ann, she ended up going in withdrawal about 3 weeks after I had her because I stopped breastfeeding. And to watch her, I mean, I knew she was in withdrawal the second I saw it. And I had to take her to All Children's and like, the people there are just looking at me like I'm a piece of shit, which, and I felt like it because here I have this little tiny baby and she's in withdrawal, and it was my fault. And I remember that just being just an awful, awful feeling, and then when I got pregnant with Victoria, I prayed every single day that she would not go in withdrawal. And she didn't go in withdrawal. I was so surprised. So after I had Victoria, she was born in 2010. I stayed on with the methadone for about 2 years. It was 2012 when I knew, I was like, I need to get off these pills. I need to get off these pills. And I moved from Clearwater up here. And I remember trying to taper down at the clinic, and they kind of started giving me a hard time. And when I got to 80 milligrams, I just stopped and left. And I remember I stopped the pills, but I went back to drinking. I was drinking and doing other stuff. Like, because again, it's like I felt like I had control. I had lost the control. Once I got past the physical addiction, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll just take these other things to distract me from my physical addiction. And I ended up getting off those pills. And that was in April, like maybe the end of April or early May of 2012. And then 4th of July, 2013, I was in a head-on collision on 50 where an elderly couple had pulled out of the Oak Hill Hospital and didn't go all the way across the median. So we ended up hitting each other head on. And I wasn't the driver of the vehicle. I was the passenger. But the two people that were in the other vehicle, they both died. So here I am. I was like maybe 5 or 6 weeks off the methadone. And I'm laid up in St. Joseph's Hospital with my legs broken in several places. My whole left side of my face broke, going like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, and I remember going into the hospitals and it was like 3 a.m. when I was taken into St. Joseph's. And I remember just sitting there in that excruciating pain, just scared to death for them to give me any pain medication, because I just could not imagine going through what I had just fought so hard to get off of. So I ended up, getting some pain medication while I was there, but I left the hospital with like 5 days worth of pain medication, and I never took another pill. By the grace of God, I never took another pill. So that was in July, 4th of July, 2012. And in March, so to back up just a little bit. So right before I had kicked my addiction, my opiate addiction, I had sent my girls up to be with their dad up in Kentucky. They were up there for a month, and we had actually planned for me to pick them up July 8th. And then when I got in the accident, 4th of July, that kind of didn't happen. And I ended up not being able to get them until almost November of 2012. So I go up there and I get them, and I bring them back. And then in March of 2013, their father passed away. So, that was a huge blow for me. And the thing is like, as a young child, like, I grew up children to be seen and not heard. You didn't really like express your emotions. Like, it was always a sign of weakness. So I remember just kind of like, I couldn't deal with it because I had these two kids to take care of, and I think the only thing that saved me, my only saving grace in that whole situation, was the fact that I had gotten a little bit of money from that accident that I was in. Because if not, like, that's probably the only reason I was able to maintain for the amount of time that I did. A couple months after that, because as soon as it happened, I didn't want to deal. Right. So I'm going out and I'm drinking and I'm hanging out and I'm partying, and just anything to not feel the grief that I was going through, So I ended up getting pregnant. It was the end of June. It was end of July of 2013. And I was 3 months pregnant when I found out I was pregnant. And I didn't know who my son's father was. Like, I'm sitting here ripping and running, like hanging out all the time. And I'm having to go back. I mean, I used to watch those shows on the Maury Povich where women wouldn't know who their baby's father was. And I was like, how do you not know who your kids? I mean, that's ridiculous. I couldn't even imagine. And God's like, here, let me show you. This is how it happens. So, and I remember like going into the child support office and like, they're like, okay, well, write the potential fathers here. And I had to write like 3 people's names, like it'd be and it was the most embarrassing thing. And then to sit there and be pregnant and just be like the whole time, just not know. I mean, I was humiliated, but it really made me kind of step back and be like, you got to do something with your life, Christina. Like, you cannot live like this. And my thing, something that I always dealt with was like, if I wasn't using drugs, I was using people, places, or things. And, if I needed to get out of self, I was probably using a guy to get out of self. And I really had to realize that was a problem. It wasn't doing me any good at all. So a little bit of positive note with that situation, I was able to kind of, bring it in a little bit. I enrolled myself in school. And I remember when I went to go have Christopher, I had him on a Sunday night. I had 8 weeks left of school, and I was in class on Wednesday morning. Because I just knew if I took time off that I wouldn't have gone back to school. So I ended up graduating with my associate's in medical science in December of 2014. I was picked to speak at my graduation because the things that I overcame to go to school, I was pregnant, I didn't have a car, was walking to school, taking the bus with 2 kids in strollers, pregnant out to here. But I got through that, and I started working for a doctor's in the beginning of 2015. And things were good for a little while, but I was drinking all the time, and like, I was the type of person, I would go out and I would drink, and then that just wasn't enough. Like, by the end of the night, I was constantly looking for other stuff to do. So in 2016 was a turning point for me. I moved to Brooksville. And I remember somebody in my life had told me that was the worst decision I ever made. And I was like, no, it's not. It was the worst decision I ever made. So, I ended up moving out there, and, I moved right next to a family member, and I thought, this is going to be great. I got family support, and, first thing that happened was my license got messed up, so now here I am, I have a vehicle, but I can't get to work, and before that, I was working for a doctor, in school to get my RN, doing CNA work, overnight, just like doing whatever I needed to do to survive, going through the motions. So like, for me, whenever I felt like I was just living any sort of bit, it was when I was going out drinking, or when I was able to get high. Like, it made me feel like I was living for just a minute. Even though I was getting high and sitting there and doing my homework, there was still kind of like that rush to where I was like, okay, at least I'm living life right now. So, that went on I ended up dropping out of nursing school. I ended up losing my job. I ended up selling my vehicle for drugs, basically, because I spent the money on that. The only reason that we were able to get by as long as that we did was because I got death benefits for my children, so I was able to pay my bills for a little bit with that. But then, I stopped being able to do that because I wasn't able to control myself. When that money came in, I fed my addiction before anything else. So there was months that we went without water, electric. I had like a gas, at that house. So like, we never had any hot water. If we did, we couldn't wash our clothes. It was horrible, I mean, I've been camping, but this was like, this was camp. We were living in a house camping, that's what we were doing. And, family would come by and try to bring us food and stuff. And I had to reach out a lot. And, when I started opening my house to the people in that neighborhood, that's when things really went downhill. Because I just exposed us to all kinds of evil and negative, toxic people and situations that were just out to devour each other, and there's no other way I can explain it. Like, my daughter, my oldest daughter, she once described the neighborhood, and I couldn't have said it better. She's like, everybody that lives here is emotionally and spiritually dead. And I was like, that's it. Yeah. And for the most part, I had to become real tough because people would really try to take advantage of me and come in my house. And I just was like real guarded. But when I really started acting crazy was like when the men in the neighborhood started going after my daughter. I had a 13-year-old daughter, looked more like 15 or 16. And like, I don't know if it was half the paranoia or what, but like, I literally felt like she was in danger, and it was because I was putting her in danger. So, and the thing is like, even though I knew I was putting her in danger, like it wasn't like, I still needed to get high. So instead of like taking her out of the situation, I just became like this upset, like this crazy, like control freak that like watched everybody like a hawk, but still left them around so that I could get high. And, things got real bad. So my oldest started cutting herself. She ended up having to be Baker acted. And I remember finding like a letter, in her room that said, I can't believe my mom lets these things go on in our house. I can't believe she lets these people in here. She's like, she walks around here like a zombie and I just know she wants to be dead, and I was like, I mean, it just broke my heart, because I mean, she's like 13 years old and like the things that she was saying, like you could tell she was going through some real pain. Right. And like, she was basically taking care of my kids. I wasn't. My 13-year-old was running my household. Like, I was ripping and running. I was, home for a minute, then gone. And, half the time my kids are like going next door to Mama's house to try to get some food because I just, it was not a priority. Like, and for me, I still felt like that I was taking care of my kids because I was doing the best I can. But in reality, like if I would have been clear-minded, like there's a reason why my kids got taken away, And I remember reading those papers that said that those children are in imminent danger. And I was like, oh, how dare they say that? My kids are not in imminent danger. But like, now that I sit back, like, yes, every single day I expose those kids to some really horrible stuff because of the people that I let and the things that went on. And I can see that now. So when my daughter got Baker acted, I'm pretty sure that that's when she kind of like just couldn't keep my secrets any longer. And she didn't care what it did. Like she just had to put her big girl panties on and she had to do something because I was not strong enough to do it. So thank God that I have a daughter. She's such a brave young woman, but she called me out, and the state came and took the kids May of 2018. And by the beginning of June, I was evicted from that house. And it was June 5th. I had put myself in a real scary, horrible situation. Again, because to get high. And I ended up having a man force himself on me and I became pregnant. And I was living on the street. I was sleeping in people's carports, sleeping in like, I remember like cleaning people's houses, like other addicts, like cleaning their houses just so I can like sleep on their recliner chair and, and having to sleep on my stuff and hide my stuff, like all because, and then like, oh God, it was horrible. It was so bad. So, and I sporadically saw my children. I feel like every time I reached out to make a thing for a visitation, I had a different phone. I was staying in a different house, but I'm like, I'm not using, you guys are wrong about me, I'm like, by the way, I don't have that number anymore, So, I remember like, so after June 5th, it was about like 3 months after that, the same person had attacked me. And this time the cops were called and I was taken to the Dawn Center. And I stayed there for maybe 2 or 3 months. And then I left. And I remember going right back to that same neighborhood. And, I would go like months at a time without seeing my kids. And I remember one night, like, because in my mind, it was like, if I could just get out of this neighborhood, I could get clean. If I could just get away from here, it's this neighborhood. This neighborhood is run by the devil, all these people like, and like, that's that crazy thinking. And I remember like making arrangements for somebody to come pick me up who was an addict too, husband and wife, but they were better addicts because they had a piece of property and they had vehicles and they had jobs. And, so it was better than the level that I was staying in, And I remember like, they're like, okay, we'll pick you up at the end of the street, but you have to walk down the end of the street. We're not coming to that house. So here I am, that I think is my saving grace. And I'm trying to get down the street, but I got like this bicycle and I got this suitcase with all these books that I dug out of a dumpster because there was a period of time when I thought that like I was going to come across a book and it was going to be the book, and I was going to get rich off that book. And there was like, all these things that I used to dig out of dumpsters. Like these were my treasures. I'm not even lying. So here I am trying to get out of Stanford, but I got to take all this stuff with me, right? Because this is my stuff. So I'm like in sections going down the street and I'd have to take it one group at a time, right? And it starts raining, right? And as I'm doing it, I see the truck drive down. So now I'm like freaking out and I'm having it out with God. I'm telling this story because I know James wants me to tell the story. So I'm having it out with God. Like I'm telling him, I'm trying to do the right thing. You have to deliver me from this neighborhood. I'm trying to recite everything that I learned in my childhood from church. Like ask not what, like I'm asking you, you have forsaken me. Like I'm just, throwing out the big guns and I'm letting him have it. Like I'm screaming at him because I'm just completely like helpless, like a helpless, desperation, like angry, like just, I needed some help. Right. And let's just back up just a second because I had seen my children a month earlier and I had promised them the next visit we were going to go to Chick-fil-A, which this night that I'm having it out with God is the night before this visit that I promised to go to Chick-fil-A. But now we're a month later, I don't have no money, so now I'm stressing out, like, how am I going to take them to Chick-fil-A? I've spent all my money on drugs. Like I don't have any hustle left in me, So I'm having it out with God, it goes on. I end up missing my ride. They never came back and got me. I go back to the house the next morning. I got this plan to go, visit my kids, and the transporter picks me up and we're heading to Chick-fil-A. Right. And I'm sitting in the seat like, what am I going to do? Like, I could not speak the words and tell this woman, listen, I don't have any money to take my kids to Chick-fil-A. Like we're driving to this Chick-fil-A and nothing. Like what? And I remember like being in my head, like, this is why people rob banks, because you're in your head, like, like, what am I going to do? Like the hustle and the, like, I couldn't even think straight. So we get to the Chick-fil-A and I'm taking them by the little playground. I'm just trying to get them to sit down. Like I'm waiting for a miracle, like something. And, like it's coming to the point where I'm like, I'm going to have to tell this woman that I don't have any money, and I was so humiliated. And this woman staring at me from across the dining room, and, she's just staring at me. Right. And I remember she had like short blonde hair. She was an older woman, not too old, but maybe like in her 40s or 45, 50s, and she walks over to me and she says, I would like to bless your children with breakfast. She says, may I bless your children with breakfast? And I looked up at her and I was like, yes. And she puts her hand on my shoulder and she says, he wants me to tell you that he hasn't forgotten about you and that he loves you. And then I lost it. I started crying. She's like, may I pray with you? And I was like, yes, and the thing is it's like, it was such, like, nobody would have known like what I went through that night, and the words that were spoken and the desperation in my heart and like that was a turning point for me. Like I did not get clean after that moment, but I was making strides to get clean. Like I knew, like, he's going to help me. Yeah, he's going to help me. Like it's going to happen, So in September, I ended up going and staying with my cousin, and I had worked with her, and I worked with her for like 3 weeks and she didn't pay me. And then we ended up getting in like an altercation and where she ended up going to jail, so I was left at her house in Webster, and I needed to get back to Spring Hill so I could see my kids, and she got arrested. She's gone out the house. So I ended up stealing her engagement ring out of her jewelry box. and justified it, because like I was stuck there. I needed to get back to Spring Hill. I couldn't see my kids, and she owed me money. I ended up going back, and which was total BS because I pawned that ring and I spent it on drugs. So I ended up, like, after that, I ended up going back to the Dawn Center. I called them and I was like, can you please take me back? And they did. And by October 25th, I had a warrant out for my arrest. So I called the cops and I had them come pick me up from the Dawn Center. And I remember there being like some relief. Like, I had never been to jail in my life and I was terrified. But at that moment, like, it seemed like the best alternative. Like, go sit your ass in jail, Christina, because you got to get out of here. Like, this is crazy. Like, and there's so many things that I'm leaving out because this was just the insanity and the craziness that happened on a daily basis. Like, you wouldn't believe me unless you were there. It was just unreal. So I ended up getting out of jail a month later. I did a hard 32 days and pregnant. So, it was like, they were really nice to me. So, but I went right back to using. And then on January 12th, I knew I was supposed to meet my probation officer, right? So I ended up leaving from my little partying phase, right? And I had to kind of like I was like, I got to get my stuff together. I got to go see my probation officer. So, I had to give it a few days. And then when I went to see my probation officer, she ended up popping me with the urine and I came up dirty, and I had my day planned out. Like, I was going to see my probation officer. Then I was meeting with the lady that I was discussing to give the baby up for adoption. Cause this time I'm like 6.5, 7 months pregnant. And then later on in the afternoon, I was going to visit with my kids. So when they put me in those handcuffs, I was like, my world just ended, completely different from the first time when I got arrested. This time I was just like, I can't believe I'm going back here. Like this is horrible. Like, the disappointment that I felt in my heart for my children, because I wasn't going to show up for that visit. And last time I had seen them was before Christmas, at the Dawn Center. So I hadn't seen them in almost a month again. And, I was crying. Gosh, I was crying. I was so, and I was like pregnant, like I'm pregnant, it was so humiliating. And, my heart was broken. Like, for the first time, like, my heart was broken. Like, I knew that, because the first time I was jailed too, like, I went and talked to my family. Like, I didn't want nothing to do with them. It was, I didn't talk to my daughter. It was her fault for running her mouth. It was my family's fault for not taking me in. If they would have just helped me, if they would have just got me out of that neighborhood, it was just victim mentality all the way. It was everybody else's fault. And the second time I went to jail, I was like, wow, like, I really did it. I really did it this time. So I went into jail. I stayed another 28 days. And I remember I got out of jail, and was on house arrest. And I remember like feeling relief that I was on house arrest. I was like, okay. And I remember sitting in jail going, man, life's going to be good. I can't wait till I can just go home and put my feet up and just relax. I took for granted of being able to just sit on my couch and watch TV, And when I got released to my grandma's, well, first of all, when I got home from jail, I had them drop me off at my mom's house. And I was out there knocking. It's like 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night. And she was not answering. She was like, no. So I ended up having to walk down to the street to my grandma's. And my grandma let me in. And I remember like the next day, my mom came down and she did start helping me because here I am on house arrest. So I had to go to probation. I had to go do all this stuff. We started trying to find me like a shelter to stay in. And, because I was pregnant. So we went to Metropolitan Ministries, went to Salvation Army, went to all these places. And because I was on house arrest, like they wouldn't take me. Like if I would have not been on house arrest, they would have taken me. But how they're like, nope, we can't. We have domestic violence, survivors in here. We have people in here that, this is a, locked down. We can't have people coming in here checking on you. So after like 2 or 3 weeks, so my grandma, poor little thing, she's losing her mind with me being there. And she used to walk around with her bedroom key on a string and put it in her shirt. And I was like, what is her problem? Why is she walking around like this? And then today I'm thinking, hello, you just got out of jail for stealing a ring from your cousin. Of course she's walking around with her. But I remember being so offended, that's rude. Why is she doing that? She's so dramatic, but she needed me out there. She's she's going to kill me with her being here. So she needed me gone. And I remember we started kind of fighting. I'm 2 weeks away from having the baby. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? I couldn't go to any meetings. I knew I needed to go to meetings. When I was in jail the second time, I knew in my heart, after I had cried for 4 days straight to God, I knew that I had to commit my life to recovery when I got out. Every second, because I spent every second on the street trying to get high. Every second, I would have just went and picked up some drugs and was getting high and already thinking, okay, what do I got to do for the next one? And still not out of drugs yet, but I knew it was coming. I had to be prepared. But I knew I had to commit all that time to my recovery, So when I got out and then I was on house arrest, it was kind of oh, but I can't because I'm on house arrest. I can't go nowhere. I can't do nothing. I don't have a car. I don't have this, And I remember my grandma made it very clear she didn't want me there. And I went out on the porch and I was heartbroken. My feelings were hurt because I literally in my heart, I wanted to do the right thing. I did not want to use, I had, hooked up with the adoption agency, and I was really I was for sure going to give the baby up for adoption. I was just praying for the strength, and I remember being out there at another, God moment. I'm out there and I'm telling God, what am I supposed to do? She doesn't want me here. I have no place to go. My mom doesn't want me there. I can't go there. I'm about to have this baby. I'm on house arrest. I'm I can't go. What am I supposed to do? And no sooner did I get those words out of my mouth, because I'm on the porch, I'm literally talking out loud, to God on the porch, and my phone rings, my little food stamp phone, and it's the adoption agency, my case manager, Susan Freemer, and she said, we found you a bed at a recovery house. And I just want to make it known that it was actually my dear friend Wendy from Baycare who helped my case manager find the recovery house. And she picked me up and she took me to Da Vinci. And gosh, I remember when I got there, man, the case manager paid for me to be there and stuff like that, which was a huge blessing. And I remember when she left, my shoulders felt lighter, Angie came in, she brought me sheets and she was talking to me and she's like, you don't have to live like that anymore. She's like, it's over, And I remember just being able to just breathe and relax and not have to look over my shoulder for the first time in my whole life. I knew that I was where I was supposed to be. This was divine intervention. Again, God, everything that led up to that point was for this reason, So 2 weeks later, I went in and I had the baby. And then I came home without no baby. And that was rough. I remember my poor boobs are so bad. And I was like, I need to go back to the hospital. And Angie's like, no, you don't. Just make you a cup of tea and just hold it in your arms. I'm like, no, I need to go to the emergency room. And again, it was just I couldn't deal with what I was feeling. So I needed I don't know, the distraction of going to the hospital to get some attention. I don't know what it was, but Angie called it. She knew what it was. So my first meeting after that was the celebration, was Allie's celebration. And I will never forget it because I was sitting in there. Usually you go, you have a baby, you come out, you're feeling like you're 400 pounds, but it doesn't matter because you got this cute little baby. It's here's my baby. And everything feels good. But then when you don't have the baby, you're like, oh my gosh, my insides are coming out. I'm huge. I'm just like, I was a mess, you know? And then I started like combination of not having the baby, but then like realizing, listen, I got, you know, forget about the baby. You have other children that are being spread across all these foster homes. You know, they're getting separated. You know, they're in their sixth foster home, and you know, it was horrible. So I remember me calling my case manager. So I went to the celebration, and Allie told her story, and I was over there like just losing it. Like I could not control my emotions. Like, so I was like, okay, well, I need to share, because people are looking at me like, what is this girl going through? And my story, I felt foolish telling it after hearing Allie's story, you know, but I knew that I had to share it. And it brought me a lot of relief. Like after I shared it, people came up and gave me a hug and talked to me, and like, it was a huge breakthrough. And then Allie, of course, she gave me her multiple year pin and was like, I don't know you, but I'm going to get to know you. And I just remember leaving that meeting like, this is, you know, this is where I need to be. So anyways, so the next day I called my case manager and I said, you gotta get me some kind of grief counseling. Like I'm going through it, you know, like I started kind of like thinking that maybe I shouldn't have gave the baby up. And she's like, she calls me back and she's like, you need to be at Baycare at 9:30 in the morning, you know, to meet your fit team. Again, another connection through my dear friend, Wendy, may I just add that I actually knew Wendy from when I was in my addiction, pregnant, because she was coming over being a peer specialist for a friend of mine that I was getting high with that had her children taken away. So I had met Wendy before any of this. And here she comes, you know, now she's in my life, you know, making moves and making things happen for me, you know. It's just so crazy. So so I show up at the Baycare, you know, and I'm in there kind of like how I'm trying to tell my story now, but it was like so crazy. I was trying to, you know, and then this happened and oh my gosh, and then I got to tell you about this, and you're never going to believe, well, I have to tell you about this first, or you're not even going to understand what I'm telling you, like this. And I remember people were like, wow. You know, like I promise you it really happened. It makes sense. It makes sense. So I remember they're like, well, we're just waiting on your peer specialist, Allie. She just celebrated, and she's, you know, she celebrated the other night. And I was like, Allie, you know, and I don't know if I said this, but when she gave me her pin, she's like, I don't know you, but I'm going to get to know you. So then next thing you know, here she comes walking into my fit team with my fit team. She's part of my fit team. And we make eye contact, right? And we just start crying, you know, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is the girl that gave me her pin. And, you know, and like, you know, she is always going to be such a huge part of my journey. You know, I've got my angels. I've got, you know, God. I've got my case manager from the Forever Families. I got my sister Angie, you know, and I got Allie. It's just these women, like God just put these women in my life, you know, and they made huge impacts in my life as a woman and in my life as for recovery, you know. So Allie was my peer specialist. She came by, she talked to me, she stood next to me when I went to court in front of Baycare. She was my advocate. She's just, I can't say enough nice things about Allie. I just love her so much. So, you know, anyways, so I ended up staying in Da Vinci for 8 or 9 months. Got a job when I was completely unemployable. By the grace of God, I got a good job that I still have to this day, with fish window cleaning. And at the end of what was it, 2019, I ended up moving out of Da Vinci just so I could progress with my case plan. You know, because the kids couldn't have overnights and stuff there. So I had to move out. And then by November 1st of 2019, I got my kids back. So after them being gone for like, I think it was 1 year and 8 months or 2 years, they were able to come home, which was, but I was still on house arrest. So but it worked out. It worked out. So I ended up getting off house arrest. And like today, I mean, fast forward to today, like I've just made recovery a huge part of my life. You know, I went from being homeless, living on the street, being in trouble with the law, having my kids taken away from me, not having anybody in my family want to be near me, let alone talking to me, to having an amazing life today. You know, I'm very involved. I have my children back. We just went to Tennessee for Thanksgiving, and we just went to Universal Studios and Disney. And I did that. I mean, I'm a single mom, you know, and I was able to do that for my kids, which was huge. And like, I can honestly say, I mean, I know there's people that struggle in recovery, and it's heartbreaking, but you see them get through it, and you see them get through it without using. But I have been very blessed ever since I surrendered my life over to my recovery and to the will of my higher power. Like, things just happen for me. And like today, you know, I go to work. I have an amazing job that I'm passionate about. I'm in school that I love, because education is a huge motivator for me. I have my kids. I'm in networking groups. I have my service work. I can't even think about what else I have. You know, I have amazing relationships. I have my family back. I have my mom, my beautiful mom, who messages me every single day and like says like so many adjectives before she says my beautiful daughter. Like, she's been a huge support for me, and I just love her so much. And then, you know, like my sister's come into recovery now, and like her life is amazing. She just got engaged. My mom just got engaged. I got to be there for that stuff. I'm not engaged yet, but I got to videotape it, you know, so everybody needs a videotaper. But, so, you know, those are things that I would have missed, you know, if I was out ripping and running. You know, I have an open adoption, so I do get updates and stuff about the baby, and he's going to be 3 March 2nd. And then I even like have to co-parent with my son's father. And I'm able to do that today. Like, you know, I still have a little couple of like resentments, you know, with that situation, but you know what, today I don't have to like make issues out of those. Like the primary purpose for me and him is to take care of our son. And I'm able to do that. And I'm able to not react. And I'm able to pick my battles today and own my part in things. So I'm able to have like healthy relationships with boundaries and respect, you know, and open communication and stuff. And I'm just so grateful for that, because before I couldn't even talk to people. I would just fly off the handle. If I didn't get my way, you know, I threw a temper tantrum. I was a master manipulator, you know, the gift of gab, and talk about turning like character defects into assets. Like that gift of gab helps me with my job, you know, talk me right into a sale. So I'm going to talk myself right out of a sale too. But, you forgot Noah, my kitty cat. Yeah. So yeah, I got a cat when I was in Da Vinci. You know, my sister Angie was outside playing on her Pokemon game or Harry Potter game or whatever. And there's so I was going to name my son Noah, right? The baby that I gave up for adoption. I was going to name him Noah. And then the parents were like, no, we're going to name him Andrew James. So it's like, okay, you know. So Angie finds this little kitten. She brings it to the Da Vinci house. And you have to know that Angie is allergic to cats. Right. So she was like, can I have the kitten? I had this room all by myself. I was missing my kids, and she let me keep the kitten. And I ended up naming him Noah, which was so funny because she found him like in a drain ditch and he was almost drowning. So he's actually right over there, and he's so cute. Yeah, he's my little baby. I still have him to this day. Just another little gift from Angie. But so today, if I were to talk about like, we're always needing reasons to recover, right? So I have all this great stuff going for me, but I am still so very capable of making bad decisions. Like I literally just last week made a bad decision. It wasn't about to use or anything, but we're talking about like impulsive decisions or like instant gratifications or like decisions that you know that are not the right decision, that's going to leave you feeling in guilt and shame, right? And just really knocks you off your course for the whole day. And I am so good at making those decisions. I make them about every 3 to 4 months. You know, every 3 to 4 months, I get this little itch and I want to start taking my will back, you know? So I'm still very capable of making wrong decisions. So that's why I'm so grateful that like I have a support group today, and that I know that like I need to like talk about these things, you know, and my sponsor, you know, she was like, well, why didn't you call? And it really, you know, it really hit me, because it's like, well, I wasn't on my way to go pick up a drug. But in a sense, like, I was on my way to go make a bad decision. So like, yeah, I should have picked up that phone, and maybe I didn't because I didn't want to get talked out of it. But like, it's so funny how I didn't even consider picking up a phone because I didn't contribute that bad decision as serious as picking up a drug or using. But now I know, moving forward, yeah, I'm gonna pick up that phone, because like I literally sat in self for like 3 to 4 days and binge watched, a show, and just couldn't get out of my own way. And I could have been doing so many other things if I would have just not made that decision. So this year, my biggest thing is watching my behaviors and my decisions, because I'm still capable of, these behaviors that will back me into a corner, if I'm not careful, might back me into such a corner that I would think that, drinking and using would be a way out of it. And I don't ever want to get to that point. And I made a realization, that this like obsession that I kind of put on like thinking just a little bit that I need to be in a relationship, because like for me, I'm always like, what's next? Like, okay, now I've gotten this far, like what's next? What's the next big thing? People are getting engaged. People are, buying houses. People are doing all this stuff. And I have to remind myself, like 6 months ago, I would have given anything to be where I'm at right now. So like, I need to like be okay with where I'm at and not always just worried about jumping into the next thing. And like, for me, like when I start thinking about this desire to be into a relationship, I mean, that's a red flag right there. Like the second that I start thinking I need to be in a relationship, I need to get back in my step work, because like that's like a clear sign that I do not need to be in a relationship. Like absolutely, it's the opposite. So I'm actually finishing my 5th step, and I'm getting ready. So I think like right now, that's another thing, is I'm kind of getting into my character defects. So like, I'm kind of living in them right now. But that's why I'm like extremely grateful that I got to tell my story on my celebration, because I needed that reminder. Like maybe like sometimes I start thinking, I should be farther. I should be doing more. Like I should have more sponsees, or I should, be like have a house by now, or I should have this. I have to think about like, 3 years ago, you didn't have nothing but some books that you pulled out of a dumpster, with your little pink bicycles that you stole from your mama, stuff like that. I didn't have nothing, and today I have more than material things. Like I have joy in my life. I have happiness. I have compassion. Like I have people like, and those people like that were involved with my children getting taken away. I remember I had such a resentment against them. Like some of those people I still call to this day to get advice from them. They're not even in my life anymore, but they're friends on my Facebook. I call them when I need advice. Like they are like detrimental people in my life today. And now that I realized, and I stopped playing that victim mentality and stopped like blaming other people for my problems, I realized that those people were there to protect my children when I couldn't. Those people were there to be a light of hope for me and my children when there was none. They were there to offer resources when I had nothing, couldn't do anything for myself. So, I have those people rooting for me today, and are just so, and it feels good because, those people that do those jobs, like Allie, where people they have to constantly watch, people go back out, and then people relapse, and then people overdose, and kids get taken away, and, and talk about what's it all for. Like, I'm glad that I can be a success story. I'm glad that I can, show them this is why you do what you do, for people like me that have their families back and have a life, an amazing life. But yeah, today I am so grateful. Like even when I do not have things to be grateful for, I have things to be grateful for. Like I find reasons to pray, to thank you in the morning and please at night. I'm very humbled by this whole experience. I hope that I stay that way. Every once in a while, like I have to bring myself right back down to right size. And I'm grateful for those moments too. I feel like there's a little bit of growth every time I do that. And this little hiccup that I had earlier in the week, it was like everything happens for a reason, right? And I was reading a little devotional after it, and it said some of the most successful people veer off their path and fall flat on their face over and over again, but each time get up more reliant, more dependent on their higher power. Some of the most successful people. So that was exactly what I needed to hear. And I'm just super grateful that I made it to 3 years. I mean, I couldn't even put 3 hours together for a minute. And like, I just can't wait for what this next next year brings. My intentions are to be there for the newcomer, to be there for the person that's hopeless, to bring them hope, because there is hope. There is life after recovery. There's an amazing life after recovery. And I'm just so grateful. And thank you so much, Justin, for asking me to do this. This is exactly what I needed. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you for the willingness to come on here and share your story. It's such a good story. And you're very transparent, and that's what I love. I love when people come on here and put all of it out there, because you know what? We need to hear that shit. We need to hear the misery, you know what I mean, of losing the kids, of getting pregnant and having to give a kid up for adoption. Like, it's hard for people to talk about that. But like, that's where the shit is. Like, that's where the hope is, right there. You know, that you fought all those demons, you got your kids back, you're living a successful life, you know, and it's not just like you're living successful. That's what this addiction to success is. It's hard for me to say sometimes. It's a tongue twister, but the success of life, man, it's not money. It's not property. It's not your social status. It's like you as an individual, how you're living these days, your character, like you're living it, like you're living the dream, you know, you got your kids back. You got a good job. You know what I mean? You're taking care of them. You're reaching out for people. You're giving them hope. You're on here, you know, spitting the truth. You know what I mean? And it's needed, you know, and you do a lot of service work, you know, and that's really cool. You know, I look up to people that do service work. It's, you know, sometimes I don't think I do service, but I do service. But, you know, it's like, and it's pretty cool, you know, and there's a few things that you touched on that I just wanted to talk about because it's so true. The one thing is the books thing. Like, I have to say, listen, I totally relate to it, because I had a suitcase and we have to bring all this dumb shit that means nothing. Like, literally, we found all of it and we're like, no, I need this, man. This could be good one day. Or, you know, looking for that great thing that's gonna find us money or something.
Yep.
Or fame, or I don't know what it is. Like, we're looking for it in a dumpster. You know what I mean? That's that sick thinking that, like, that's what we hold dear right now. Nothing else. Some fucking books we found in a dumpster. Oh man, and it's so true. I had a suitcase full of bullshit. I lived in a suitcase, you know. Another thing is the jail, you know, getting stopped. Sometimes jail was like, and we talked about this the other night, like, jail stopped ourselves. We need that divine intervention to just stop. And like, it's almost like a relief, like, oh God, thank God it's over for a minute. Let me get some sanity back. And the sick thinking is like, and then you're right back to the races as soon as you get out, like nothing's changed, you know? One more thing is, so the adoption thing, I want to talk about that because it's a very hard thing, you know, having to give up a child. And like, I don't know what it's like as a woman, you know. I could just imagine, you know, the connection, because I see it with my wife and my kids. Like, I don't have the connection to my kids like my wife does. Like, it's just, sometimes it's impossible for a man. Sometimes, you know, we have a different level of connection, you know what I mean? But my wife has a connection to my daughter that and my kids that I won't have, because I'm not the one that carried them. It's like a different bond, right? What, like, how, if somebody is going through that right now, what is like the best thing you could tell somebody that might be going through the exact same thing, fresh in recovery? Like, do you have, like, what got you through those times when, like, you know, because I'm sure it was hard at first, right?
Right. Yeah. So, a big part of it, like, because I was on the fence, like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And for me as a mother, the pride to have to admit that I wasn't able to take care of a child, because in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is a fresh start. I'll start brand new with this baby. I'll do it right. But I knew, like, when I started, being in jail with that clear mind, I knew, like, there's no way that you're going to be able to take care of this baby. Like, you were a single mom with all these other kids, and it was hard.
Mhm.
You're sick, like, you need help. And I remember praying and saying, like, if you can give me the strength to do this, please don't let it be in vain. Like, let me get my life, my head right, and let me get my kids back. That was a
Mhm.
huge thing. And I think that once I stepped into that situation with faith, my higher power gave me the strength to push through. And there was peace in my heart. Like, the sadness that I was going through at the celebration and stuff. I mean, I think that was more like just like my hormones and just emotions and stuff, and just needing to get it out. But for the most part, like, after, like, I was able to get it out, there was definitely some peace in my heart, and I knew that, okay, now I can focus on me. The baby's okay. Okay. And the thing is some of these hard decisions that we have to make, when we have to make grown-up decisions, and we don't, they just seem like awful decisions, but then we know that they're the right decisions. And some of the right decisions are the hardest decisions to make. There are blessings on the other side of it. And if God brings you to it, he's going to bring you through it. And I just feel like that I was given so much strength and blessings and a testimony, because I
Mm.
actually shared about the adoption in a couple meetings, and I actually gave another addict the strength to give her baby up for adoption. And she even wrote me a poem, like, a year ago, and it was so touching. And if I could just help one person with my story, that's all right. But when you make those decisions to do that, and it's the right decision, you're blessed with the strength to get through it, and you'll be blessed for it, and things just work out, and you'll notice that on the other side of it.
Definitely, and it's hard, like I always say, man, recovery makes you grow up in this thing. We're running around here like some dumbass children, trying to be adults, like blaming everybody, like you said, we're blaming everybody else for our shit except for ourselves, like everybody's to blame. This is why I am the way I am, or like, I can't believe they're like dissing me, all this dumb shit, but they have every right to be, and then when we get into recovery, man, we have to make some hard choices, man. I've never been through what you've been through as far as that goes, but I could just imagine what it's like, to be able to give up one of your kids that you pretty much grew in your stomach, and it's and going through all those emotions, fresh out, fresh into recovery. Shit, I was emotional freaking mess, and I wasn't even doing any. I had no baby or anything, but and it's a selfless thing that you do by doing that, because you're trying to look out for the well-being of someone else, another baby. And I think that's awesome for you to come on here and share that. And super proud of you. Congratulations on your 3 years. It's
Thank
it's
you.
fucking amazing when people, and I say it all the time, I love celebrations, and I said it in the meeting the other night. I've never before, I never cared for celebrations. I never cared for anything because I was just a miserable bastard in recovery. Like, we could be in this bitch miserable too, we
Yeah.
can. Like, just because we come to recovery doesn't mean we just like get all kinds of joy and shit. No, we have to find it. Literally, we have to search
Yeah.
for it, and it's our problem's not the drugs and alcohol, man. It's fucking us. It's this guy, and you can do it to yourself too. You can point at yourself,
Yes, girl.
Yeah, and we have to find that. We have to search. It's a search, getting through those defects and assets, like you were saying. A defect isn't an asset is a defect that's gone haywire, you know what I mean? Or that's gone too far,
Yeah.
and it's cool to find our strengths, our weaknesses, and be okay with it. And that's what I love about recovery, man. But like I was saying, I love celebrations because we need those little that boys. We need affirmations. We need criticism just as well. We need to celebrate each other. For the fucking, it's a hard task to get through this and get to the other side and keep going.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I love your recovery out loud, because let me tell you what, like, I'm too transparent, you know, and I go to like my networking groups and like my, you know, people I talk to at work, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a recovering addict in 3 years. And people are like, probably shouldn't say that. And I'm like, what? We're really sick as our secrets. I ain't got no secrets, you know, and I recover out loud. Like, this is who I am. Like, you don't know what I've been through. Like, I'm okay with this right here. I'm okay. So I just love that, because I recover out loud.
Like a drunk person at a bar, you know what I mean? Spilling all the secrets and all the alcohol too, whatever. But yeah, man, that's what we need to do. To show people that we do. And like, because all they see is the crap side of the thing, you know? People walking down the street, the homelessness, whatever, people ODing, see it on the news, blah, blah, blah. But where's the hope? Where's the stories? You know, that's why we're here. That's why we do what we do. So I want to thank you again for coming on tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for being here. If you guys would share this live feed, let's get it out there. You know, you never know who this is going to touch tonight, or who might need to hear Christina's story and might just get a little glimmer of hope and want to change. And we hope you guys got something out of tonight. And this Sunday, we're going to be doing our topics, man. We go live every Sunday. There's a group of us. We're going to be, you know, put it on top. We don't know what it's going to be. We just wing everything usually, but it's good. You know, it's not a prep thing. It's not a planned thing. So, and we're going to be live this Sunday, 8:00 right here on the Hope Shot. We hope you guys join us, and love you all. Good night.